Oh, hey, hi. You came back. Oh, I'm delighted. You know, people work from sun to sun, but the pastor's work, it's never done, even including doing snow. But anyway, I am so happy to see you and that you would come back on this beautiful snowy day. Well, look at where we are today. We're away from Immaculate Conception and we're away from St. Joseph's. And here we are at Our Lady of Grace, a very lovely little community here in Ballston Lake, New York, just 4 miles from Immaculate Conception. So we're going to take it inside today because probably a lot of you haven't seen this church, but it's a cute little church with a wonderful community. So let's take a peek inside. Christine, you do the shoveling afterwards, okay? Come on in. Well, here we are. And I'm going to take my mask off if that's okay, because we're pretty far away from each other. And I think we're safe, but remember, we still have to wear our mask. Even though things are looking much better every day, we still need to wear our mask. Okay? So let's go over here to kind of one of the focuses of the church. And that's right here. It's a beautiful image of Our Lady of Grace. And of course, she's holding, that's right, baby Jesus, right? So she stands right here to greet everybody that comes in to the church. So before we get our little tour of Our Lady of Grace, we might want to do our prayer like we usually pray. We always put somebody in our hands, right? And we offer them to God in a special way. So how about today we put the community of Our Lady of Grace in the hands of God. Okay, so we pray for them especially. All right? So we begin. You're going to join me, don't forget. He's got the whole world in his hands. 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 He's got you and me, sister, in his hands. He's got you and me, brother. In his hands, he's got the community of Our Lady of Grace. In his hands, he's got the whole world in his hands. Oh, I love it. And you sing that song with me. You make me sound so good because you are so good. Anyway, so we ask Blessed Mother, Our Lady of Grace, to be with us as we take a little journey through this little lovely church called Our Lady of Grace, one of the 3 families that we belong to now, right? Immaculate Conception, St. Joseph's, and here at Our Lady of Grace. So let's start over here because there's something quite interesting and quite lovely about this church and its reception of people. It has here this very lovely tree. And it says, Our Lady of Grace Family. And every time a family joins the church here at Our Lady of Grace, their name is placed on a leaf. So they belong to the tree of life of Our Lady of Grace. And so there's some very, very interesting things here. The Fitzpatricks are here. Let's see, who else? Let's see, the Thornhills are here. Of course, they're here. They're always here. The Kyles are here. And the Calamans are here. So all kinds of wonderful people here. It's a real nice community and a nice place to be, to meet God and to meet brothers and sisters. So it's a nice thing. You know, there's another interesting thing here too, is it's all the priests and all the deacons and all the parish life directors who were pastors or had a big position here at the church, starting off with Father Hogan. Now, the church goes back to 1922. That's a long time ago. And when they started in a little Methodist church, I think Methodist, not too far from here, and they let them use the church for Sunday Mass. But a group of people went to the bishop, and they said, Bishop Scully, we need to have a church out here in Ballston Lake because it's so far away from everybody. And so sure enough, in 1922, the bishop made the Our Lady of Grace become a parish. And so ever since then, they've been building and changing buildings and adding on to their buildings. They've been doing a lot to keep their community safe and keep it growing. So we have Father Hogan, Father Carr, all the way down Father Diocetus. A lot of us might remember him. And then Deacon Hook took over, and Dorothy Sokol took over for a while. And our friend Father Peter Russo, who lives on the property of Immaculate Conception, he was pastor here too. So I follow in a great legacy of some wonderful people. So I'm very, very fortunate. So anyway, so we see this as a welcome to Our Lady of Grace. So let's go this way. It's a little different than the churches that we've seen. Our Lady of Grace, our Immaculate Conception and St. Joseph's. I gotta keep my churches in order here. You notice as you walk into the lobby, there's a little step down. So let's watch our step, Christine. I don't want you to fall. So let's hold the railing. So it's a little hard to get in sometimes, but there's a nice ramp on the side too if you can't come down the stairs. And this, believe it or not, from what I understand, I'm still pretty new to this church, this was their worship space. And it was a small space, and the altar was, I believe, in this vicinity somewhere. And so it was just enough to house the people at the time. But then they decided to put on an addition, and the addition went that way, and we'll go in there in a minute. So now, with the new addition and this area, if there's an overflow for Mass, we can put chairs out here and people can still see Mass. Or this is a wonderful place to gather before or after Mass. A nice place to have a cup of coffee and to kind of talk to each other and see how things are going. Of course, with COVID, right, it's been so different. We've not been able to do that. So hopefully someday, again, we'll be able to use this as a gathering space. You can see over here, this is an old, good morning. Come on, say hello, Jim. This is Jim.
How do you do?
Jim takes care of the place and keeps it spotless and keeps it dry. And
dry.
We do a good job, and we're grateful to you for all your work.
Thank you, Father.
We're making a little video just to kind of show one of the families of the three. And today, here we are at Our Lady of Grace. We'll be back next week, and we're going to be interviewing the Lawrences. Oh. So anyway. So thanks.
Yes,
great to see you, and you have a good, safe day.
Thank you.
Okay.
You too.
All right. So I was saying, this is an old dressing area for the priest, and this probably comes from the old church because this is very, very old. And it says on the top there, James Charles Austin and John McDonald, in memory of the deceased members of their family. So I wonder what year that was placed there. But I would say this goes back to the 20s, maybe 30s, but it's something that we don't see very often anymore because our vestments are so different. The vestments used to fit in these little drawers, and the priest would slide it in. But now, you know me and my vestments, they're pretty big. And so now we hang them up in the closet right there. But this is still a nice little place. Sometimes if I need to meet people, I can meet people here for a few minutes. I can still see what's going on. And so it's a nice little spot, really. And let's go inside the church. Okay. A nice little hanging there, huh? Go now in peace. So you would see that as you leave the church. So that's kind of comforting to go in the peace of the Lord. Always a nice thing to know that Jesus travels with us. Then, over here, another beautiful hanging. And I think it has to do with, certainly the center of the parish life is the Eucharist, right? And there are some beautiful pictures of saints here. St. Teresa, who's on there. Looks like, the American flag, probably something to do with the Boy Scouts. It says 76 there. I'm not sure what that means. But I can see there are some old pieces of old vestments. That's an old vestment piece right there, here too. And that's kind of nice, like that they saved and reused the things of the past. So it's quite interesting. Again, a logo, which was on a vestment at one time, many, many years ago, but they preserved it into this beautiful hanging, which is quite colorful and quite inviting and old. New, but old. So, okay, let's go in here. I think if I can light this light up, we could see that it's an image of Blessed Mother. I don't know if that comes across too well. I'm not sure where all the lights are. Let's see if we can't shut a few. And can you see her, Christine? Yeah? Oh, good. So yeah, it's a beautiful image of Our Lady in her beautiful heart, and there's a sword in her heart. Remember, we see that too at Immaculate Conception, that there was, when she conceived Jesus and brought Jesus into the temple, old Simeon said to Mary, a sword is going to pierce your heart too. You're going to suffer because you're the mother of Jesus. And sure enough, we know how she suffered, huh? So that sword reminds us of her suffering, and yet she endured her suffering and now promises to be with us always, even in our suffering. So she's beautiful to see, huh? As you walk into the church. We see the Blessed Mother. So come this way. Now this is the addition that was put on some years ago. We begin with the baptismal font. Now, because of COVID-19, we can't use water, right? So it's been dry for the longest time, but the water usually fills up here and kind of trickles down into here, trickles down into there, and then trickles down into here. So this font is big enough if you wanted to baptize an adult. You could certainly put the adult in this spot and baptize the adult like we often do at the Easter Vigil. So it was made with that in mind. It was also made if we wanted to baptize babies, you could just put the baby right in there too. So it's kind of handy, it's kind of nice, and like Immaculate Conception and like St. Joseph's, where is the font located? That's right, by the front door. And why is it located by the front door? Yep, that's right. Because it's the first sacrament into the church. That's how we are received, and so it's by the front door. And you'll notice, as we saw at St. Joseph's and at Immaculate Conception, the Paschal candle, right? Always by the font. What else do we see by the font? Especially at Immaculate Conception. Anybody remember? Yes? Yep. The 3 oils. You know everything. I don't know why I even come anymore. You know everything. But anyway, the oils are kept right here. The oil of chrism, the oil of the sick, and the oil of catechumen. So those 3 beautiful oils are there Not sure if that lights up or not, but there they are in this very safe little cabinet. And they're very close to the baptismal font because we use them at baptism. So they're very nicely located. Okay. Also, here in this church is the confessional room. And I think there's a light in here somewhere. Here it is. So, I'm not sure. Oh, does that light that? I don't know. Oh, those are for the fans. Whoops. But anyway, here's the confessional room. It's a little bit bigger than the one at Immaculate Conception. But again, somebody coming to confession has an opportunity to sit down and not be seen by the priest, or they could simply sit right here, and the priest would sit right here, and they could chit-chat, right? That's what we do when we go to confession. We really talk, and we just talk about the things in our heart that bother us, and we ask Jesus for forgiveness. So it's a nice room, and it's very interesting chairs. I like these chairs. So, continuing on to the bigger part. Okay, so you can see that it was built to be a multi-purpose room. What does that mean? Well, most churches, like Immaculate Conception, like St. Joseph's, the pews are tied to the ground, anchored to the ground, and its purpose is really just for worship. But here at Our Lady of Grace, when they built the church, they built it so that they could use it for both their prayer and also they could turn this into a hall for dinner. And really, eating dinner together is a continuation of the Mass, right? We're being fed. So it's called a multi-purpose room. Since I've been here as the pastor during COVID, of course, we can't do any of that. And a lot of the seats have been taken out to make sure there's social distance and people are safe. But otherwise, as you can see, it's a pretty big space. And I'm not sure how many hundreds it holds, but certainly many hundreds, probably 300 people. I don't know that for sure. But so you can see over here is the music area. The music here at Our Lady of Grace is a little bit different than Immaculate Conception and St. Joseph's. It's a little more contemporary, also quite beautiful, I must say. And there's a set of drums. There's a very beautiful piano, big baby grand. And there's a place for the guitarist, and there's a place for the choir, a place for the cantor. So they have wonderful music. And I think people are really attracted to Our Lady of Grace, and one of the reasons is because of the music. It's a little bit different, a little more contemporary. So it gives a different flavor, and all churches have a different flavor. But now that we're the three churches, we're trying to bring that flavor into all three, so that Our Lady of Grace here, St. Immaculate Conception, and St. Joseph's, no, I'm not always having the same music, but having similar music. So when we go to one or the other, we feel at home and we feel comfortable. Okay? So that's kind of a nice thing to know. But they do work hard at their music. I'll give them that. Over here, again, being that this is a multi-purpose room, you notice that the altar is up on steps. But whoever created this particular area did so with the vision in mind that this could be taken out. So all these are like little boxes placed on top of another. So if they needed to take this out and, say, have a bigger dinner or have a head table or something of that sort, all these things could be taken out. I would like to see someday that maybe we would move them around, because everything is movable. So maybe we could put the altar someday in the middle and have everybody looking at the altar from here. and have the ambo up on the top. You could do a lot of things when the building is sort of portable, right? When stuff can be moved around, you can make it interesting and you can make it different for the seasons. You can do all kinds of wonderful things. So it's a pretty interesting place to worship. Much different than Our Lady of Grace, than St. Joseph's and Immaculate Conception. Okay? As priests, I would come up here, and this is the altar. You can see it's made of some very beautiful wood. It almost looks like it was made especially for this church because of these arches, and we see these arches around several places. So you can see that it was made just for here. And the altar cloth is green. Why is it green? Got it. Ordinary time, right? So it could be white or it could be the color of the season. In this case, it's green. This would be the ambo. So this is where people would read the Word of God. This is where the gospel is read. This is normally where I would preach from. And then the deacon, if there is a deacon, would sit over here. And normally the deacon would sit next to me in my chair, which is over here. But because of COVID-19, when the deacon is here, he's got to be away from me. So here, and also now, because we can't use altar servers because of COVID-19, we put this little ambo out, if you will, and my book of opening prayers is right here, like we do at St. Joseph's and Immaculate Conception. So though the buildings are different, what happens inside the building is the same. It's just a little bit differently presented. Okay? Also, there's the processional cross, which is right there as well. And a beautiful image of Jesus of the resurrection, right? Once he resurrected from the dead, we see an image of him with the nails in his feet and the nail marks in his hands. And so that's pretty prominent here. And that's good for us to see that because we see Jesus on the cross, but we also see Jesus resurrected, right? And when he resurrects, that's the promise fulfilled, the resurrection from the dead. First one to do it, only one to do it, and that would be our Jesus. So, and you notice over here, there's a little rail, which is kind of handy. You know, for somebody who might have a hard time going down the stairs, there's a little rail there. But again, that could all be moved if necessary. But it's simple, and it's tasteful, and it works. So, over here, you can see there's a lot of light on both sides, and we have the Stations of the Cross. Now, those Stations of the Cross, they look to me like they were from the original church because they're pretty old looking, and they're quite lovely, and they're colorful, and they're well positioned so people could walk the Stations of the Cross by simply walking a straight line. Where are they at Immaculate Conception? Anybody remember? Yep. You know, I know you know. Yes, they're all along the side of the main part of the church. Remember, they're on the walls, and we walked through them. Remember, twice we did. We walked through them, and also we walked by them when we did the windows. So here, there's no stained glass window. It's all clear glass to make it very bright and airy. And then over here is something that they put in just a few years ago, and it's the tabernacle. The tabernacle used to be on the other side of the building in a small chapel, and they used to use that for morning mass. But now, because we don't have morning mass here, we felt that the Eucharist should come into the body of the church. And so the people here at Our Lady of Grace decided to put it over here in the corner with the light burning. And it says here, the Eucharistic reservation area is dedicated in memory to Reverend Anthony C. Diacetes, the beloved pastor from 1989 to 2005. Father Tony was very well loved here and very well respected, and his memory lives on. And I think this was a nice thing to put in his memory. So if the church is empty like it is now and somebody wants to come in and pray, it's just a nice place to sit down and kind of put our troubles at the feet of Jesus and just kind of talk to the Lord in the Eucharist, because we know he's very much present for us there. So, and again, you notice how this kind of matches the altar, right? With those little arches, which are very churchy looking, I think. So, there you have it. And let's see what else is there. Now, you notice too that the chairs, different, right, from Immaculate Conception. They have chairs, and they can be moved around in many, many ways. So the area here for worship can really be changed if we ever wanted to do that. And with COVID right now, it's pretty hard to do any of that, but perhaps when that goes away, we could probably do something kind of on a different side. So, do you hear anything buzzing? Because if you do, it's my phone. It's buzzing. So, anyway, that's Our Lady of Grace. And it's so hard for me sometimes to keep the names because I'm at all three, and I have to really think about where I'm at. And because things are different at each location, but what I do at each location is the same, and that's pray the Holy Mass and offer the Eucharist to people who are present. So whether it's this type of space, or big like Immaculate Conception, or cozy like St. Joseph's, the important thing is Jesus is made present to us on the altar. So, that's about our tour of Our Lady of Grace here in Ballston Lake. Next week, we'll hope to be back, and we're going to be interviewing John and Lorraine Lawrence, who are longtime parishioners here, and John is also a trustee. So it should be interesting, some of the stories they might have, and some of the things they can tell us that I don't even know about this beautiful parish. So anyway, it was great having you here. It was great being with you. As always, Christine, thank you for being with us. Mr. Biggis, I think, had something to do with us, some helping us today too, so we thank him. And I ask God's blessing upon all of you. And remember, I love you, and I always will. And I thank you for joining us. I'll see you again soon. Bye.